Okay, good. So our first lecture of the little model of the international regulation, city planning, and environmental protection called Urban Dimension in Cohesion Policy of the European Union. This lecture will be devoted to the brief history of regional policy of European Union. Today we will consider some basic main parts, basic main dates, and basic main treaties of European Union, of the regional policy of European Union. But first of all, sorry, unfortunately I can't see my mouse. Okay. So what is European Union at all in common? The European Union, or EU, but European Union is more comfortable, is a political and economic union of 27 member states that are located primarily in Europe. Its members have a combined area of more than 4 million square kilometers and an estimated total population of about 447 million. The European Union has developed an internal single market through a standardized system of laws that apply in all member states in those matters and only those matters where members have agreed to act as one. European Union policies aim to ensure the free movement of people, goods, services, and capital within the internal market, enact legislation in justice and home affairs, and maintain common policies on trade, agriculture, fisheries, and regional development. For travel within the Schengen area, passport controls have been abolished. A monetary union was established in 1999, coming into full force in 2002, and its component of 19 European Union member states which use the euro currency. So this is a common information that I'm sure you know well, but it is with what we can start. The brief history and main parts of European Union. The first main part is the foundation of European Coal and Steel Community in 1952. Initially, the European integration activities were confined to the creation of a common market in coal and steel between the 6 founder members: Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. In that post-war period, the community was primarily seen as a way of securing peace by bringing victors and vanquished together within an institutional structure, which would allow them to cooperate as equals. There were 4 European institutions: a high authority as executive arm toward the member states and their companies with 9 members; Council as a kind of legislative body; parliamentary assembly composed of delegates from the member state parliaments and discussing and controlling the high authority activities; and Court of Justice. The treaty for this community expired 50 years after having come in power in July 2002. So the first foundation, it was the European Coal and Steel Community after Second World War II. What about regional policy? The biggest treaty that was the first step to the regional policy was Treaty of Rome. So it was created in 1957. Regional policy means either regions in the Treaty of Rome found in the European Economic Community. So in 1968, it was the Directorate General for Regional Policy of the European Commission, and in 1975, the creation of the European Regional Development Fund. So, since the Rome Treaty of 1957, one of the main tasks of the community has been to promote a harmonious development of economic activities. The need for a coordinated community solution to regional problems and the correction of regional imbalances was also recognized in Commission reports a first communication in 1964, and a subsequent recommendation in 1969. The Assembly, today's European Parliament, expressed its support and resolution during the 16th, the first enlargement. So when the island, the Denmark Kingdom and the United Kingdom was added to the European Union, and the objective of an economic and monetary union meant the heads of state and government decided in October of 1972 to create a regional development fund. Based on the Article 235 on the treaty, today is Article 308. The Council agreed unanimously on the first European Regional Development Fund regulation in December of 1974. So, what is European Regional Development Fund? Its aims to strengthen economic and social cohesion in the European Union by correcting imbalances between its regions. The organization focuses its investments on several key priority areas. This is known as a thematic concentration. So there are the following priority areas: innovation and research, the digital agenda, support for small and medium-sized enterprises, the low-carbon economy. The organizational resources allocated to these priorities will depend on the category of region. In more developed regions, at least 80% of funds must focus on at least two of these priorities. In transition regions, this focus for 16% of the funds. This is the half and less developed regions. Furthermore, some of the resources of the organization must be channeled specifically towards low carbon economy projects. More developed regions will gain 20%, transition region 15%, and less developed regions only 12%. So, and the budget of the organization is made of the donates of the European Union participants. So the basic goals of the European Regional Development Fund is European territorial cooperation. Under the European territorial cooperation programs, at least 18% of funds will be concentrated on these four priority areas mentioned above. Specific territorial characteristics. The organization also gives particular attention to specific territorial characteristics. Its action is designed to reduce economic, environmental, and social problems in urban areas with a special focus on sustainable urban development. At least 5% of the fund's resources are set aside for this field through integrated actions managed by cities. Areas that are naturally disadvantaged from a geographical viewpoint. So, for example, remote, mountainous, or sparsely populated areas benefit from special treatment. Lastly, the othermost areas also benefit from specific assistance from the fund to address possible disadvantages due to their remoteness. And so, let me show you some video. Okay, as you see from the video and from the some first brief history of European regional policy, the main idea, the main goal, it was after the war, the countries in the region was really in a big difference. Some of them was focused on agriculture, some of them focused on the big cities and so on. And the main idea is equality. Equality of the European territory, equality of the European countries. So and it was the donations from the rich regions to the poor ones, just to reach the equality. And as you see, más menos, they get a success in it. Sorry. Okay. So the first big point with the regional policy was to adapt to the arrival of Greece, Spain, and Portugal. The structural funds were integrated into an overarching cohesion policy, introducing key principles, focusing on the poorest and most backward regions, multi-annual programming, strategic orientation of investments, involvement of regional and local partners. And the budget was 64 billion of European credit units. So it was the currency before the euro, European Credit Union. So as you see, 64 billion, it's a big enough budget, but the problems were big too. So um, in the latest 80s, sorry, the Greece, Spain, and Portugal was integrated in the European Union. Okay. So, as you see, thanks to regional policy, in the European Union solved the biggest problem that, for example, now in Russia we have these days. The big problem of urbanization. So it's not necessary in Europe to move from one town to another, and for example to move from little town to big one, just to gain the job and to construct your business. It's not really matter where to live. For example, in Spain, Barcelona, Madrid, Bilbao, Valencia. thanks to regional policy, thanks to some projects, programs, and smart budget management, they have in reality they have más menos equal cities to live and to with its functions. Okay, let's go next. Sorry. So the next big treaty that we need to consider is Maastricht Treaty that was adopted in 1993, and the treaty introduced three novelties. The Cohesion Fund was created, the Committee of the Regions, and the principle of subsidiarity was opened in the European Union. So we will consider in more detailed way each of these three points. So the same year was the creation of financial instrument for fisheries guidance, and the next year and the next 5 years, the resources for the structural and cohesion funds were doubled to equal a third of the European Union budget. So as you see, the regional policy interest was in progress. So in 1995, a special objective was added to support the sparsely populated regions of Finland and Sweden, and the budget it was 168 billion of European credit units. So the Cohesion Fund is aimed at member states whose gross national income per inhabitant in less than 90% of the European Union average. It aims to reduce economic and social disparities and to promote sustainable development. It is now subject to the same rules of program management and monitoring as the European Regional Development Fund and European Sustainability Fund through the Common Provisions Regulation. For the period from 2014 to 2020, the Cohesion Fund concerns Bulgaria, Croatia, Cyprus, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Greece, Hungary, Latvia, Lithuania, Malta, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. The Cohesion Fund allocates a total of 63.4 billion euro to activities under the following categories: Trans-European Transport Network, notably priority projects of European interest as defined by the European Union. The Cohesion Fund will support infrastructure projects under the Connecting Europe facility. So the next is environment. Here the Cohesion Fund can also support projects related to energy or transport as long as they clearly benefit the environment in terms of energy efficiency, use of renewable energy, developing rail transport, supporting intermodality, strengthening the public transport, etc. And the financial assistance of the Cohesion Fund can be suspended by the Council decision taken by qualified majority in a member state. Shows excessive public deficit, and if it has not resolved the situation or hasn't taken the appropriate action to do so. So as you see, the money from Cohesion Fund can be given to you if you will be ready to prove that the money that you are going to take you will spend to make your city, for example, your region, better in financial, environmental, or construction area. And so, what is subsidiarity? The subsidiarity principle aims to ensure that decisions are taken as closely as possible to the citizen, except in cases where the European Union has exclusive competence. Action at European level should not be taken unless it's more effective than action taken at national, regional, local level. Subsidiarity is closely bound up with the principles of proportionality and necessity, meaning that any action by the Union should not go beyond what is necessary to achieve the objectives of the treaty. Subsidiarity was first introduced in the Treaty of European Union in 1992. The Treaty of Amsterdam extended the principle, for example, so that all legislative proposals are assessed for the impact of subsidiarity. The Treaty of Lisbon further strengthens the principle. Specific changes include greater consultation with the local and regional level when drafting legislative proposals, closer communication with national parliaments during the legislative process, and some video about this period. So as you see from the video, in that period it was some big success with unemployment and with the infrastructure of the European Union, the construction of roads, the construction of the fabrics, etc. So the third big document that we need to consider is the Lisbon strategy. Shifted the European Union's priorities towards growth, jobs, and innovations. The priorities of cohesion policy were shifted to reflect this. Further, it was the pre-accession instruments made funding and know-how available to countries waiting to join the European Union. In 2004, 10 new countries joined, increasing the European Union's population by 20%, but its GDP by only 5%. So we mean the majority of countries from Eastern Europe. So the budget was, after the adoption of euro currency, was 203 billion euro for the 15 existing members. €22 billion for the new member country that was joined to European Union in the period from 2004 to 2006. So what is the Lisbon strategy? The Lisbon strategy, also known as the Lisbon Agenda or Lisbon process, was an action and development plan devised in 2000 for the economy of European Union between 2000 and 2010. A pivotal role in this formulation was played by the Portuguese economist Maria João Rodrigues. Its aim was to make the European Union the most competitive and dynamic knowledge-based economy in the world, capable of sustainable economic growth with more and better jobs and greater social cohesion. By 2010, and it was set out by the European Council in Lisbon in March of 2000. So the main fields were economic, social, environmental renewal, and sustainability. The Lisbon strategy was heavily based on the economic concepts of innovation as a motor for economic change, based on the writings of Joseph Schumpeter. The learning economy, social and environmental renewal. Under the strategy, a stronger economy would create employment and European Union, alongside inclusive social and environmental policies, which would themselves drive economic growth even further. And European Union Research Group found in 2005 that current progress had been judged unconvincing, so a reform process was introduced wherein all goals would be reviewed every 3 years, with assistance provided on following items. And translation of the Lisbon strategy goals into correct measures led to the extension on the framework programs for research and technological development into Framework Program 7 and the Joint Technology Initiative. And more detailed. Last minus modern period. 2007, Bulgaria and Romania joined the European Union. 2003, Croatia joined the European Union. So the next simplified rules and structures. The emphasis of the transparency and communication and an even stronger focus on growth and jobs are key elements of the reform. Key investment areas, more than a quarter has been earmarked for the research and innovation, and 30% for environmental infrastructure and measures to combat climate change. And the budget, it was 347 billion euro. And what about achievements? The key achievements of regional policy of the period of 2014 to 2020. Cohesion policy funded by the European Regional Fund and Cohesion Fund is the largest source of direct European Union budget investment in the period from 2014 to 2020. These three funds will enable a total investment of 485 billion euro, is European Union budget for financing of 355 billion euro. Let me say that ERDF, it's European Regional Development Fund, and ESF, European Security Fund, European Strategy Fund, sorry. Below you find a presentation of selected investment targets and the three progress made so far in achieving those targets, organized under the three headings up. So, a smart Europe, research and innovation, a digital economy, and SMEs. Sustainable Europe, low carbon economy, environmental and climate action, network infrastructures, and an inclusive Europe, labor market, social inclusion, and human capital. So I forgot to add the links to the Smart Europe, Sustainable Europe, and Inclusive Europe, but next time we will consider these three points of achievements of regional policy. It will be very interesting because we can choose every country and see the graphics of growth of these three key points of each country of the European Union. The modern conditions of the European Union. Okay. And considering the period from 2014 to 2020, so the key positions are investing to meet the goals of the Europe 2020 strategy for smart, sustainable, and inclusive growth in the European Union. There will be main priorities, harmonized rules, and greater emphasis on social inclusion and tackling youth unemployment of the strategy, also the objectives and results of the strategy. And the budget of the European regional policy is 351 billion euro. So what is Europe 2020? Europe 2020 is a 10-year strategy proposed by the European Commission on the March 3rd, 2010 for advancement of the economy of European Union. It aims at smart, sustainable, inclusive growth with greater coordination of national and European policy. It followed the Lisbon strategy for the period from 2000 to 2010. So what's new for this period? Stronger focus on results, clear and measurable targets for better accountability. So the simplification, one set of rules for 5 funds. Conditions, introduction of specific preconditions before funds can be channeled. Strengthened urban dimension and fight for social inclusion. A minimum amount of European RDF earmarked for integrated projects and cities of the European Security Fund to support marginalized communities. Linked to economic reform. The Commission must suspend funding for a member state which doesn't comply with European Union economic rules. And what are the priorities? Cohesion policy set the 11 thematic objectives supporting growth for the period from 2014 to 2020. So investment from the development fund will support all 11 objectives, but objectives from 1 to 4 are the main priorities for investment. Main priorities for the European Security Fund are from 8 to 11. The fund also supports the first 4. The Cohesion Fund supports objectives from 4 to 7 and number 11. And here you can see the priorities. So Cohesion Fund supports number 4, supporting the shift towards a low carbon economy. The 5, promoting climate change adaptation, risk prevention and management. The 6, preserving and protecting the environment and promoting resource efficiency. The 7, promoting sustainable transport and improving network infrastructures. And number 11, improving the efficiency of public administration. So there were the brief excursion among the periods of the foundation and development of European regional policy. So the last video that I'm going to show you. Okay. So thanks to the video, we can see that, for example, in Russia now we are now in 2020 under the first steps of equal strategy of smart sustainability and inclusive goals. Although I would like to say that the results of the results of this program maybe not so good, like for example it was in the presentation. So that's our home task. So your home task is to create a little presentation with more detailed information about one of four main documents of four main projects of European Union regional policy. The first, it was Rome Treaty. The second is Maastricht Treaty. The third is Lisbon Strategy and the Europe 2020 Strategy. Now, I would like to say that we just need to pay attention on the results of the strategies, because our further project that we will be considering, for example, next time, it will be the strategy from the 2021 to 2027. It is a new strategy based on the Europe 2020, Lisbon, Maastricht, and Rome treaties. We need to consider, we need to pay attention on the results that European Union reached based on these treaties. You may choose who of you will take which one. It's not necessary to inform me now, but please choose one from each of you. And if Valentina don't want or don't have time to prepare the presentation, I'm just it's okay. I will prepare the last. It's not important for me what it can be. Okay, thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, you can ask me. If not, I will send you the video recording of the lecture, maybe to repeat or not. Also to see the last slide to choose the presentation. Remind you that the presentations should be ready by the lesson that will be on 9th of June. And if you don't have any questions, I appreciate.
Yes, I have a question, but it's not for our theme.
It's not connected with the lecture, yes?
Yes.
Okay, let me stop the
Можно по-русски.
Okay, so